3 people checked into the lodge that night. Only 1 walked out, and I'm not even sure it was me. They say the devil collects in 3s. 1 to see, 1 to serve, 1 to suffer. Guess which one I was? My name is Daniel Reed, and I work a roadside lodge halfway up Black Hollow Pass, a winding stretch of forest highway that most folks only use when the main road floods. The Hollow Pines Lodge sits like a forgotten relic. 8 rooms, a front office with a dusty reception desk, and a flickering neon sign that still buzzes when it rains. We don't get many guests in the off-season, especially not in late October, when the trees look like they're on fire and the wind howls through the pass like it's carrying warnings. I took the job because I needed quiet. I dropped out of college after my mom died, and the city was too loud, too full of memories. My uncle owned the place and let me stay in a manager's room rent-free. Just keep the lights on, take payments, and hand out keys. Seemed easy. The first 5 weeks were uneventful. 1 or 2 hikers stopping for a night. A retired couple who asked too many questions. Then came room 4. It was Thursday evening, near dusk. The sky had turned that pale orange you only see in the fall. I was reading a dog-eared paperback behind the front desk when the doorbell chimed. The man who walked in wasn't like the usual guests. He wore a black wool coat, neatly buttoned, and had the kind of face you forget the moment you look away. Not ugly, not handsome, just blonde, like he didn't want to be noticed. He didn't say much, just slid an ID across the counter and asked for a room. Cash only. Room 4. No one's in there, I said, but it's kind of drafty. The window doesn't close all the way. I don't mind, he said. Voice low. 4 is fine. I gave him the key and watched as he walked into the fog. Something about him set my teeth on edge. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I'd just been alone too long. That night, around 1:30 a.m., I heard footsteps. I was in the manager's room behind the front desk, watching old horror flicks with the volume low. The steps were slow, deliberate, echoing through the wooden floorboards. I peeked through the blinds and saw the man from room 4 standing by the vending machine. But he wasn't buying anything. He was just standing there, hands in his coat pockets, staring at nothing. I waited a few minutes. He didn't move. Finally, I stepped outside and cleared my throat. You okay out here, sir? He turned slowly, like someone waking from a dream. I needed air, he said. I nodded, backing off. All right. Good night. When I went back inside, I realized something strange. The vending machine had no reflection in the glass door. I didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, room 4 was locked from the inside, and the Do Not Disturb sign hung on the knob. Around 11 a.m., I slipped a receipt under the door. No answer. I didn't see him all day. That evening, the fog came early, thicker than usual, curling around the lodge like fingers. I sat at the front desk, half asleep, when I heard the doorbell chime again. It wasn't a man. It was a woman, pale, wide-eyed, maybe early 30s. Her clothes were rumpled like she'd been running through the woods. She clutched her phone like a weapon. You have to help me, she said. I blinked. Ma'am, is there a man staying here? Tall. Black coat, never blinks. I hesitated. What's this about? She leaned in, voice shaking. He's not what he seems. He's done things. Are you saying he hurt you? No, she whispered. But he will, if you let him. I stepped out from behind the desk. Maybe we should call the sheriff. No, she hissed. He won't believe you. No one does. You have to keep me away from him. Please. I didn't know what to say. She looked terrified. Then the door opened again, and the man from room 4 walked in. The woman froze. Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. The man looked at her, calm as ever. Emily, he said, you shouldn't have come. She backed away. You lied. You promised me it was done. I lied, he said. I stepped between them. Okay, that's enough. This is a private property. You both need to calm down, or I'm calling. The lights flickered. All of them. The lobby bulbs, the hallway sconces, even the neon sign outside. Then came the sound. A low, grinding noise like something dragging metal across stone. It came from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. The man from room 4 didn't react. He just looked at me. You felt it too, he said. Didn't you? I swallowed. What is it? It wakes, he said, when the balance is off. Emily began to cry. You brought it with you. You always do. No, he said softly. It follows you, not me. The lights blew out one by one. The whole lodge went black. I ran behind the desk, fumbling for the emergency flashlight. When I clicked it on, the beam flickered. I pointed it at them. Emily was gone. The man was still there, but he looked different. His coat was soaked through, not with water, with something thick and dark. His hands were crimson to the elbows. She's not yours to protect, he said. She's the third. I backed away. What the hell does that mean? He didn't answer, just walked out into the dark. I locked the door behind him and called the sheriff. He didn't answer. None of the phones worked. The flashlight battery died 5 minutes later. I spent the rest of the night in the manager's room, door locked, sitting in the corner with a crowbar in my hands and every light on. In the silence, I heard breathing. Not mine. Not from inside the room. From beneath the floor. And when I pressed my ear to the boards, I heard her voice. Emily, whispering my name. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice, Emily, murmuring my name from under the floorboards. I thought I was going crazy. Thought maybe I'd hit my head, or fallen asleep at the desk and dreamed the whole thing. But when the sun finally rose and I stepped into the lobby, I knew it had all been real. There were footprints, bare, wet, leading from room 4 to the vending machine, back to the lobby, then to the front door. But they didn't match the man's boots. These were smaller, slender, like a woman's, and one set went the other way. From outside in, I followed the trail to the back hallway where the breaker box was. That's when I saw the gash in the wall, about a foot wide, near the baseboard. It looked like something had torn through the plaster and insulation from the inside, but there were no claw marks, no damage to the outside wall, only burn marks, like it had been melted or cauterized. I backed away and called the sheriff's office again. This time it rang, and rang, and rang. No answer. No boy femade. I tried again later. Still nothing. Around 10 a.m., I walked out to the lot. The man's car was still there, a black sedan, dusty, windows tinted. I walked up and looked inside. Nothing out of place. No lagi. No personal items. Just a red notebook on a passenger seat. I tried the handle. Locked. Then I heard something behind me. I spun around. No one there. But in the woods, past the edge of the lot, I saw a shape. At first, I thought it was just the shadows moving. But then I realized the trees were bending away from it, like they were afraid. I backed up and went inside. All day I couldn't focus. I kept checking the door, checking the cameras. Nothing moved. No sign of Emily. No sign of the man. Until sundown. Just after 6, the man returned. He walked in like nothing had happened, set the key to room 4 on the counter, and slid a folded piece of paper across to me. I'll be checking out now, he said. I stared at him. Where's the girl? He didn't blink. What girl? Emily. The one who came in last night. You knew her. He tilted his head. You must be mistaken. I've been alone the whole time. I glanced at the note. It wasn't a receipt. It was a page torn from a Bible. Leviticus 20 verse 27. I didn't know the verse off the top of my head, so I made a note to look it up later. When I looked up again, he was gone. I ran to the door and watched him walk to his car, get in, and drive off. He didn't look back. That night, the power stayed on. No sounds, no whispers, but I didn't sleep. Instead, I opened my laptop and looked up the verse. A man or woman who is a medium or spiritist among you must be put to death. You are to stone them. Their blood will be on their own heads. I stared at the screen, chilled to the bone. I didn't know what to make of it. Was he calling Emily a medium? A witch? Was it a warning? A confession? Then I remembered the notebook in his car. I couldn't get it out of my head. The next morning, I drove to the sheriff's office. It was closed. Not just closed, boarded up. Windows smashed. Door chained. A handwritten sign read, "Move to Pine Ridge. Emergency? Call state troopers." I dialed the number. Got a robotic message. That was it. I felt like I was slowly being cut off from the world. Like the lodge was drifting further from reality every hour. When I got back, something was waiting for me on the front desk. The red notebook. I swear on everything, I didn't have it before. I hadn't brought it in. No one else had come in. The door was locked. But there it was, sitting perfectly centered on the counter. I picked it up and opened the first page. There was no name, no date, just a sentence. You only see the third circle when you've stepped through the first two. I kept reading. It wasn't a diary, more like a ledger. Pages and pages of names, each with a date, a location, and a symbol I didn't recognize, some kind of spiral with 3 lines drawn through it. Then the entries changed. Descriptions. Scenes. One page read, "Subject 14 did not scream. The entity waited longer. It prefers fear to violence." Another. Subject 21 begged. The entity ignored the pleas. It listens only to regret. And then, Emily, subject 37, medium, former vessel. Return to site of previous contact. Must be neutralized before the cycle completes. I dropped the notebook. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew this wasn't just some creepy guest book. This was something else. Documentation. A pattern. A ritual. I thought about the gash in the wall. The burned insulation. The way the trees bent. That night, I walked the ground with a flashlight and a crowbar. I couldn't sit and wait anymore. I had to know what was going on. I circled the building. Checked every window. Every door. Nothing. Then I saw it. Behind the lodge, near the edge of the woods, was a small hatch I'd never noticed before. Half covered by moss and leaves. Metal. Old. Locked with a rusted padlock. I pried it open. The air that came out was warm. Not fresh, more like the breath of something sleeping. I aimed a flashlight down. Stairs. Stone. Leading into the dark. I went back inside and grabbed a lantern. When I came back, the hatch was still open. I climbed down. The stairs twisted. Deeper than they should have. The lodge wasn't that big. But I kept going. 10 steps. 20. Maybe more. At the bottom was a chamber. Stone walls. Circular. Carved symbols on every surface. Chains bolted to the floor. And bones. So many bones. I backed up slowly. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. Something else. From the wall across from me, the stone began to shift. Crack. Crumble. Something moved behind it. A shape. Tall. Thin. Arms too long. Face hidden by folds of shadow. I turned and ran. Didn't look back. Climbed the stairs 3 at a time. Burst out of the hatch, slammed it shut, and ran inside. I stayed up the rest of the night, watching the cameras. Nothing came out. At dawn, I opened the notebook again. The last page had changed. A new line had appeared, written in fresh ink. Subject 38, Daniel. Witness. Survivor. Final piece. I closed the book and started to cry. Because now I knew. I wasn't the observer. I was part of it. I didn't open the lodge that day. Didn't turn the lights on. Didn't answer the door. I sat behind a reception desk with a notebook in my lap and a crowbar across my knees like some kind of desperate night. The words kept echoing in my head. Subject 38, Daniel. Witness. Survivor. Final piece. Final piece of what? I flipped through the notebook again. There were sketches now. Full-page drawings in red ink that hadn't been there before. Or maybe they had, and I just wasn't ready to see them. One of them showed the lodge from above, like a bird's-eye view, but with something coiled underneath it. Something massive, like a serpent made of smoke and bone. Curled in the shape of the same triple-line spiral from earlier pages. A symbol I now recognized. The third circle. Another drawing showed a face. At least, what might have once been a face. No eyes. Mouth stitched shut. Horns that curved backward like the ribs of a dead animal. And around it, the same phrase written over and over in tight spirals. It only wakes when 3 are present. I shut the notebook and pushed it across the counter. I wanted to leave. Just walk out, get in my car, and drive. But I couldn't. It felt like something in the building was holding me here. Not physically. It was deeper than that. Like the walls were watching. Like the air itself would turn to glue if I tried to escape. I picked up the phone again. Dialed the sheriff's office. Nothing. No dialtone. Deadline. I tried my cell. No bars. Then came the knocking. Not at the front door. From inside the lodge. Down the hall. I stood up slowly, gripping the crowbar. I crept toward the source, past the vending machine, past room 3, and stopped in front of room 4. The door was open, just a crack, and I could hear breathing inside. Emily, I called, though I didn't expect an answer. The breathing stopped. I pushed the door open with the tip of the crowbar. The room was dark, but someone or something was sitting on the bed. A shape. Tall. Still. Shoulders hunched. Then it moved. Stood up. Taller than it should have been. I stepped back, heart pounding. The figure stepped forward into the shaft of light from the hallway. It was him, the man from before, the one who checked in, the one who left. But now he looked different. His skin was pale, almost translucent. His coat hung in tatters. His eyes, if you could call them that, were solid black. And his mouth had been carved wider. From ear to ear, he smiled. You've seen it now, he said. You can't leave. What are you? I managed. A herald, he said. A blade to clear the way. I removed the distractions. The noise. You killed Emily, I whispered. He tilted his head. She was already gone. The moment she tried to escape her role, the balance shifted. The circle cracked. He stepped closer. I raised a crowbar, hands shaking. You're part of it now, he said. The witness. The final piece. All 3 must be present. 3. I said, I'm not. But then I remembered. The notebook had described 3 roles. Witness. Vessel. Herald. Emily had been the vessel. He was the herald. And that meant, before I could finish the thought, the floor beneath us groaned. Deep. Heavy. Like a heartbeat. The air turned hot. Sulfuric. The lights buzzed and exploded one by one, plunging us into darkness. And then, a voice, not spoken aloud, but inside my skull. Huge, ancient, cold as death. It begins again. I ran, bolted down the hallway, through the lobby, out the front door, into the fog. The woods weren't normal anymore. The trees leaned toward me, branches reaching like fingers. The wind carried whispers. I didn't know where I was going, just away. But the path didn't lead anywhere. It twisted, folded, and then I was back at the lodge. No matter how far I ran, I always came back. I collapsed just outside the front porch, gasping for breath. And that's when I saw her, Emily, standing by the vending machine. But not right. Her face was pale. Her eyes milky. Blood dripped from her fingers. You're late, she said. I stood slowly. You're dead. Not yet, she whispered. But I will be. Again. She walked past me, through the door, into the lodge, like she belonged. I followed. Inside, the man was waiting. He nodded once at Emily, then looked at me. Now the circle is whole. He raised his hand, and the room shook. Reality bent. The walls rippled like water. The furniture dissolved. The ceiling vanished, revealing a night sky that was all wrong. No stars, no moon. Just a swirling red void. And beneath us, the floor cracked open, revealing stairs. The same stairs I'd found behind the lodge. But these were deeper, endless. The man stepped to the edge. This is where it begins. He looked at me. Cool, mate. I shook my head. No. Emily stepped beside him, her face blank. Hello. You have no choice, she said. You've been chosen. Then they stepped down, one stair, then another, and the floor closed behind them, sealing me in the lobby. Alone, I stared at the spot where they'd vanished, then turned and looked out the window. The sun had risen. Birds were singing. Everything looked normal, but I knew it wasn't, because when I looked at the front desk, the notebook was gone, and in its place, a mirror, one I'd never seen before. And in the mirror, wasn't me. It was him, smiling. I didn't move for hours. I just stood there in front of that mirror on the reception desk, staring into a face that wasn't mine. It had my eyes, but the expression was all wrong, too calm, too knowing. It smirked when I flinched. I grabbed a towel and threw it over the glass. And that's when the phone rang. The lodge phone had been dead for days. I tried it a dozen times, hoping to hear even a dial tone. But now it rang, clearly, cleanly, as if nothing had ever been wrong. I stared at it. It rang again. I picked it up. Silence. Hello. I asked, my voice raw. A pause. Then, Daniel. I froze. The voice was soft, distorted like it was echoing through water. Who is this? Another pause. You let them open it. I didn't open anything. I whispered. You did when you listened. The line went dead. I lowered the phone, hand trembling. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, pushing shadows against the windows. The towel I had thrown over the mirror slid off on its own. I didn't touch it. I saw the movement out of the corner of my eye, a slow unfurling like something waking up. The mirror showed me again, but this time the reflection smiled first. I backed away from the counter, heart pounding, and locked myself in the manager's room. The light bulbs flickered for a while before they blew out completely. I sat in the dark for a long time, and then came the whispering. Not outside, inside the walls. Voices, layered and broken, like dozens of people trying to speak at once, but choking on their own words. The sound crawled up through the floorboards, through the vents behind the plaster. Then footsteps. Heavy. Vet. Not shoes. Bare feet. I stepped into the hallway, gripping the crowbar tighter than ever before. Room 4's door was wide open. Inside, the bed was gone. The walls were bare. The carpet had been ripped up, exposing blackened concrete underneath. At the center of the floor was a symbol, the spiral with 3 slashes, that looked as if it had been burned into the stone. In the center of the spiral sat Emily, or what was left of her. She was pale now, translucent. Her veins were black lines beneath her skin. Her eyes were glazed over like marble, but she was breathing. Emily, I said. She looked up. Her voice was like paper tearing. It's almost done. What is? The binding. I stepped inside. We can stop it. She blinked slowly. It doesn't stop. It only sleeps. And even then, it dreams. I knelt beside her. Why me? Because you were here when the circle cracked. Because you saw it. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Because you listened. Suddenly, a hand grabbed me from behind. I was pulled to my feet and thrown against the wall. The man, the herald, he stood between us now, his coat soaked, his skin stretched tighter than before. Like something wearing him had gotten bored of pretending. "It's time," he said. I charged him with a crowbar, but he caught it mid-swing. Still fighting, he muttered, "They always do." He shoved me hard. I hit the floor and slid across the burned concrete, right into the center of the spiral. The second I touched it, everything stopped. No sound, no movement. Time folded in on itself. I saw things, flashes of places I'd never been, faces I didn't know, screams in languages I'd never heard. Blood on stone, fire beneath the earth, and eyes. So many eyes. Watching, always watching. The world snapped back. Emily was standing now, her body twitching like a puppet. The herald reached into his coat and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. He unrolled it slowly, revealing a shard of mirror, jagged and dark. "Do you know why mirrors matter?" he asked. I didn't answer. He pressed the shard into Emily's hand. "They reflect what's real. Not what you are, but what watches you when you sleep." Emily looked at the glass, and her skin split open along her arms, thin lines of black light pouring from her veins. She screamed. The spiral beneath us lit up, burning with cold fire, symbols pulsing in sync with a heartbeat that wasn't mine. The walls of the room cracked. The floor began to sink. Beneath us, a chasm opened, and something rose. It wasn't flesh. It wasn't shadow. It was both. A shape without shape. Long arms. No face. Just mouths. So many mouths. The herald knelt before it. Emily fell to her knees, sobbing, the shard still in her hand. I stood somehow. The thing leaned toward me. It didn't speak aloud, but its meaning was clear. Choose. Her or me? I looked at Emily. She looked back, her mouth trembling. "Do it," she whispered. "End it." The herald raised a hand, urging me to act. But I hesitated, and that was enough. The thing screamed, not with sound but with gravity. The whole room shook. The spiral split apart, flames rising from the cracks. The herald turned to me, eyes wide. "You broke the cycle." Emily screamed. The shard exploded in her hand. The creature shrieked again and folded inward, dragging the herald with it. He didn't resist. He smiled as he vanished into the void. Emily collapsed. I grabbed her before she hit the ground. The spiral went dark. The room faded. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes, we were outside, on the hill behind the lodge. The sun was rising. Emily was unconscious but breathing. The lodge was gone, completely. Only burned earth where it had stood. No sign of the mirror. No trace of the herald. Just the spiral, carved into the dirt. I sat beside her for a long time, watching the sky change, waiting for the world to shift again. But it didn't. Not that day. Not the next. Not for weeks. Then, one night, I looked into a window, and my reflection wasn't mine. It smiled first. The weeks that followed were empty. I left Black Hollow behind, took back roads, didn't talk to anyone. Slept in my car, ate from gas stations. Every reflection I passed, I looked away from. Windows, mirrors, puddles, it didn't matter. I was afraid they'd smile again. Or worse, they wouldn't. Emily hadn't woken up since that morning on the hill. She was still breathing, still warm, but silent. Dreaming, maybe, or trapped. I took her to a hospital in a different state. I told them she was my sister. No ID, no story, just that I found her like this. They admitted her, ran tests. Nothing came back conclusive. No brain trauma, no coma, just nothing. She's in some sort of dissociative fugue, the doctor told me. Could be psychological. Might wake up tomorrow or never. I didn't stay. I couldn't. The spiral kept showing up, scratched into condensation on bathroom mirrors, patterned in the frost on my windshield. One time, drawn in dust on a motel nightstand. 3 curves crossed by 3 lines. It was following me. Or maybe it had always been with me. I started writing it all down. Every detail. Everything I saw. Everything I remembered. Just in case. I kept telling myself that maybe it wasn't too late to fight back. Maybe if I told the story right, someone could stop it. But the more I wrote, the worse it got. People started noticing me. Not normal people. Ones like the Herald. Men and women in places they shouldn't be. Subways at 2 a.m., gas stations in the middle of nowhere, abandoned rest stops. Always still. Always watching. Their eyes wrong. Too black. Too still. And sometimes I'd blink and they'd be gone. Other times, they'd leave something behind. A spiral. Or a piece of mirror. Then one night it came back. I was staying in a run-down motel off I-70. No cameras. Cash only. The kind of place people go to disappear. I had just finished copying the final page of my notes when the lights flickered. I felt it before I saw anything. The weight in the air, like the sky pressing down through the ceiling. I looked in the bathroom mirror. There was someone behind me. Not the Herald. Not Emily. It was me, but older. Tired. Hollow-eyed. He smiled. I thought you'd never finish. I turned. No one was there. Back to the mirror, still smiling. You've done your part, he said. You told the story. You witnessed. It's enough. Enough for what? I whispered. To wake the next. Then the lights went out. The silence that followed was different. Not peaceful. Not natural. It was an absence of void. Like the world had stopped waiting to see what I'd do next. And from within that silence, I heard it again. The voice. Not the Herald's. Not the entities. My own. 3 parts. 3 lives. 3 deaths. The spiral on my notebook began to glow. It pulsed once, then burned straight through the table. The floor beneath me cracked. Smoke rose. From the shadows, they came. Emily, still pale, still marked. She walked like a marionette on tangled strings. The Herald, half man, half memory. His face rippled like oil. And a third figure. Me. But not me. Something wearing me. It stepped forward, eyes empty. Who are you? I asked. It grinned. The next witness. I stepped back. I'm still here. I'm still telling it. You finished, he said. You gave it shape. A story. That's all it needs. No. I grabbed the notebook, but it was blank now. Every page. Clean. The third figure held up a new one. Fresh. Red cover. Just like the first. He handed it to me. And I saw the title. The Fourth Circle. No. You whispered. I won't do this. But even as I said it, I was flipping it open. Reading. The words wrote themselves as I read them. Subject 1, Daniel. Former witness. Role, Herald. I dropped the book. The others were gone. The room was whole again. Normal. The motel TV turned on by itself. A news anchor droned in the background. Authorities continued to investigate a fire at a remote lodge in Black Hollow, where no building was officially registered. I didn't listen. I picked up the red notebook and left. It's been 3 years since I left that motel. I've changed names 3 times. Never stayed in one town longer than a few weeks. But people still find me. A man in a diner in Nebraska slid me a napkin with a spiral drawn in ketchup. A child in Oregon stared at me for 5 full minutes before whispering, "It's watching you." And a nurse in a hospital I'd never been to before told me, "She's asking for you." I said nothing, but I knew who she meant. I went back to Emily. She was still in the hospital. Same room, same bed, but this time her eyes were open. She looked at me and smiled. "It's your turn," she said. "I already did it," I said. "I was the witness." She nodded. "Now you're the Herald." The window next to her bed cracked. 3 lines. 3 spirals. Then I understood. The story never ends. Only the names change. Only the faces. The circle opens. And someone must carry it. That's why I'm writing this now. To you. Reading. Listening. You've heard the whole thing. You followed the voice. You watch the signs. You know the story. And that means it's your turn. The above story is completely untrue. I'll just bring you a story to relax your mind before going to bed. If you find it interesting, don't forget to like. Subscribe to the channel to receive notifications about upcoming videos as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next video.